This is June 2013 question 12. The question is, the diagram below shows the demand and supply curve for cigarettes. The government imposes an indirect tax on cigarettes which shifts the supply curve from S1 to S2. Which one of the following shows the share of total tax revenue paid by the producers and the share paid by the consumers? Okay, this is quite a tricky question for a lot of A-level pupils, but actually if you break it down it is quite simple, but you do need to understand the incidence of tax section of your syllabus. But let's just go through the diagram before we go through the answers, and that will help us unpack what's going on here. Right, so as we can see, the supply curve has shifted inwards. This has changed the price of cigarettes. You know, the government has taxed cigarettes here, so undoubtedly the price of cigarettes is going to have gone up. At the free market equilibrium before, here, we had a price of 6. That has changed with the supply curve shifting because of a tax on cigarettes. The price has changed from 6 to 9. Consumers now pay £9 per pack of cigarettes, and a portion of that price now goes to the government in tax. Now I'm just going to draw a line across here just to make this a little easier for us to understand. Okay, hopefully that helps. Right, with this diagram it's important to understand which portion of the diagram is showing the tax paid by the consumer and which is showing the tax paid by the producer. So I'm just going to do some shading here. Now this portion here in blue, this is the portion of the tax paid by the consumer. And I'm going to shade the box below it. You may recognize this from your diagrams in the textbook. The green box is the producer burden. Most students will be able to do that, and most students will be aware of that. But the difficulty in this question really comes of where do we get the numbers from? How do we work out what the actual values are that are paid by the consumer and the producer? This is actually a lot easier than one would expect, and you can do this simply by filling in a few numbers. So we can see here a price from 5 to 6, a price difference of 1 on the portion of this tax paid by the producer. And we can do the same thing for the consumer. 6 to 9, this difference here in price, is the portion paid by the consumer. So that gives us the price essentially of the tax, but it doesn't give us a price per quantity, or a more accurate description would be a price times quantity, because we're selling here 50 packets essentially of cigarettes. So what we do to work out the value of this box is simply times 50 by 3, and for the producer, again 50 times 3, and that's going to give us our values. So as you can see already, this is going to give us 50 for producers and 150 for consumers. So we can look down in our options. We're looking for 150 consumer, 50 producer, and we can see option A fits that, and that's the correct answer.